All right, so I want to start out with a funny story. So, as anyone who watches this channel knows, I haven't posted in the last few days because I've been not home. I've had to travel for work, and that means I don't have access to my video editing computer. So that meant that I couldn't make any videos because I never have any free time. I couldn't make videos ahead of time. So, with that said, I was sitting outside with two people I've never met before, and I welcomed them to my table because in the 3 days that I was gone, no one ever sat with us McDonald's workers. When you work a McDonald's job, you literally have a hamburger that's tattooed on your forehead. And most people don't want to rub elbows with the help. So I welcomed them to the McDonald's table and they sat down. And one of them happened to be a very good friend of one of my acquaintances from work. And she started telling me about the really fancy dinner that they had the night before. So they took out these 100 people out to this really fancy restaurant in North Scottsdale. And she starts telling us a story that you guys aren't going to believe. But remember, all everything I say on this channel is based on a true story. Names and locations are changed to protect the guilty. With that said, let's get into this. So she starts talking about what happened the night before. 7 o'clock, everyone runs over to the steakhouse because everybody's excited. This is probably the best thing that they're going to eat in their lives. I had a corn dog. I didn't go. I didn't want to go. But she started telling me about the waiter or waiters. So this is a strange kind of style of steakhouse. And she said that the waiter came over to serve her food. And every time he served her food, he was sweating so profusely that sweat came off of his forehead and onto her food. And she's like, how can I possibly eat that food when his sweat gets on my plate every single time he serves? And then she said that wasn't the worst part. There was a guy that kept coming up to her, asking her if she wanted more food. The guy's fly was open. And I'm like, I looked at her and I said, oh my God, so this is the steak house. And she just laughed at me. She said the staff looked so poor. The servers looked like they were people who needed help, like now. And that's how we're all starting to look like in America. Our flies down, we're sweating, we're panicky, we're depressed, we're angry. Last night at about 7:30, Mello sent me a link to the latest episode of The Epic Economist because she was excited that he'd actually shown his own face. He rarely does. I've seen him a few times, but he stood there talking into the camera like, this is it, people. Either you're going to get up and do something about your situation or just shut up. Because everything, if you guys have been watching the Anonymous channel, Jesus, it's explosive every day. 2 or 3 videos a day. And no one's doing anything. Not you, not me. We're just accepting what they're telling us. The gaslighting of America. And we have to accept it because what can we do? If we choose to be pessimistic like I am, then you're going to be extremely depressed, especially with the weather that we're having right now. It's been raining on and off for the last 2 or 3 days, and it's just going to keep going into next week. Arizona doesn't get this type of weather. It's very rare. But with that said, let's get into today's opening monologue, brought to you by our best friend, ChatGPT. You ever notice how every news anchor smiles when they say the economy's booming? Like it's a punchline and you're too broke to laugh at. Yeah, tell that to my fridge, which is currently holding 3 condiments, a lawsuit from my electric company. We're all living in a country where the only thing inflating faster than prices is the government's confidence that we're doing just fine. If this is what winning looks like, I'd hate to see what failure costs. We're not winning. These paychecks are microscopic. Yesterday, I was doing the math at what Gen Zero makes. His bring home pay is the minimum wage. You can't get by living alone on $15 or $16 an hour. It's impossible. Even if you didn't have to pay anything else, if that was everything that you took home and they took nothing out of your paycheck, that's minimum wage. You're not supposed to build a life on minimum wage. $15 or $16 is not going to save you. You are inching closer and closer to becoming homeless, living like I do, where there's nothing to eat in the fridge. The last 3 days, it just felt like crazy how much food is out there in the real world. Because remember, record profits for them, record poverty for us. I eat ramen every single day, not because I want to, but because it's the cheapest thing you can buy at the grocery store. And even ramen is starting to go up in price. Some of the Asian ramens are now $10 for a pack. The one that I buy is still $8 for five, I think, servings. That's still a lot of money for ramen. But in this video, in the latest Epic Economist video, he shows people talking about how they're eating every other day. They're not eating meat anymore. Once you have a society that's living like me, where ramen is your primary food group, if I had a food pyramid right now, it would be made of a ramen brick. That's how broke America is right now. We can't afford to eat meat. So every time they served food, the last 3 days, I just gorged myself, which was terrible because it gave me horrible nightmares and I couldn't sleep worth a crap while I was staying at that place. But we weren't there to relax. We weren't there at this fancy multi-million-dollar resort, $1,000 a night kind of place to relax. We were there to work. And that's how the proletariat lives its entire life. We don't live to relax. We don't live to enjoy. We live to work and scrape by. And yesterday, while I was watching the people that kept coming out to serve the food, every once in a while, you see one of them come in, grab like a cake, and then take it back and eat it in hiding. That's how broke we are. Those people who were serving that food are people like you and me. They can see the wealth, they can touch the wealth, but they can't hoard any of it for themselves. At the end of the day, that place is going to throw away every one of those things that Pound Town paid for. But people, towards the end, people weren't eating as much. I'll tell you that much. But they're not going to let the staff have that food. It's not for them. Just like the wealth in this country. It's not for you. It's not for people like you. It's for people who can afford places like that, who can afford to relax because they've got millions of proletariat working for them. And those people aren't happy. Those people are miserable because we have had an economy that crashed already for people like you and me. It's not for them. They don't see it. That's why they keep telling us over and over again that everything's great, because they want us to believe it and see our failure as a personal failure. Remember, socialize the losses, privatize socialize the losses and privatize the failure. I forgot how to say that, but I haven't done one of these in a few days. So I guess you guys are going to have to roast me on that one because I'm out of practice. In fact, this morning while I was at the gym, I haven't worked out in 3 days. Even though there's a state-of-the-art facility at this resort, there was no chance. From the moment you woke up at 6:30, you were working. And if you weren't working, you were on standby. There was absolutely zero personal time in the entire time that I was there. You had to be working yesterday. Oh my God, I can't believe this happened. I was sitting with my coworker and I was glancing in at the room and I looked over and a woman almost bit it hard because someone pulled one of the cables out and they didn't tuck it in. It's when you're at a place like this, you always have to remember that your cable management took every single possible way in which a person can hurt themselves with your equipment away because it's a lawsuit waiting to happen. And as soon as I saw this woman on the verge of tipping over, I'm like, let's go. We had to go run in there, take care of some cable management because one of the executives happened to be standing right next to her. And he kind of got short with my coworker. It's like, we can't have that. And I just looked at my coworker like, oh, why did this happen? And that woman tripping over that cable caused one of the cables to bend out of one of the devices that we had. And that, of course, took down part of the system, which, again, it only took 10 minutes to repair. But if we hadn't had to spare one of those cables in the middle of nowhere, that wouldn't have been good. Anyhow, let's get into our talking point. Every morning, millions of us clock into jobs that barely cover the gas it took to get there. We show up exhausted, smile on cue, and pray the card doesn't decline before payday. They tell us to work harder as if the problem is effort, not a system that pays starvation wages and calls it opportunity. The grind isn't noble anymore. It's just survival dressed in corporate slogans. We aren't lazy, we're tired of sprinting in circles while billionaires build rockets out of our overtime. And you know the worst part is they build these rockets symbolizing police is dominance over your tushy. Because they build them and they always look like one thing. I don't have to say what that thing is, but it's the same thing that fleece gives you every morning at 8 a.m., whether you like it or not. It's a full day of work, and the full day is a full contact sport. He never gets tired. He never stops. He never eats or drinks water. It's just all day long at Pound Town. And at the end of the day, when you leave, you don't know how you're going to pay your bills, and you get home, you bring your hand to your rear and you think to yourself, I can't do this for 60 years. There's no way I can do this for 60 years. But you know what Felice is doing? While you're complaining that you can't do this again tomorrow morning, he's already thinking about it. Why? Because that's what he does. Being poor sucks. We all know that. Yet the vast majority of people in this country somehow have finally woken up, seeing these people on TikTok, finally admitting that they've failed at life is the one thing that makes me feel good in my life because I'm not out here by myself. Remember, I've been doing this for 20 effing years. I haven't seen other people finally get pissed off and start making my content. The Epic Economist has pretty much been robbing me for the last few weeks. Why? Because it's finally gotten to a point where average people are feeling it. Dual incomes, making $100,000 a year, even these people can't afford to buy homes anymore. They can't afford a $5,000 a month mortgage. Some of them claim they can. But guess what? If anything happens on top of that house payment, they're not going to have it. Because more and more people are starting to realize that you're not going to make it. There is no happy ending. There is no Disney ending. It's just you becoming homeless, you sitting at home starving, or you sitting in a dark room with no lights on right now because I don't want my power bill to go up anymore. Someone told me to unplug my refrigerator the other day because why bother to run your refrigerator if you can't afford to put food in it? What's the point? And that's how I feel about the lights in my house. Your electrical bill, your water bill, your gas bill, everything is going through the roof. And the only thing that's not are your wages. How is that fair? Talking point number 2. People think poverty looks like laziness. It doesn't. It looks like eating ramen in silence because groceries went up again. It looks like pretending your stomach's full so your kids can have the last sandwich. It's scrolling through job listings at 2 a.m. wondering how every entry-level job now requires a master's degree and 3 years of unpaid experience. Poverty isn't a mindset. It's an ecosystem designed to keep you grateful for crumbs, terrified to stop running. That's it. You know you don't want to show up Monday morning at 8 a.m. because you know what's going to be there. A rocket in his pocket. And believe me, I don't want takeoff. I want relief. I want to be able to take a vacation, buy a new car, have a home that I'm proud of. Everything about my life has no dignity in it, whether it's my job, my paycheck, my car, where I live, and the relationship I'll never be able to afford. Why? Because in order to build a positive relationship, you have to have stable income, be financially secured, and be able to be not embarrassed of where you live. I'm embarrassed of every single aspect of my life, right down to the clothes that I can afford. Why? Because I can't afford better. For many people, Goodwill used to be the place to go, right? Goodwill was where you went to buy poor people clothes. But even Goodwill knows that ratcheting up your prices to compete is something you have to do. Goodwill is getting close to being retail. And that leaves poor people at a significant disadvantage because these are all the things that you have to do. You can't show up at work with clothes full of holes or faded clothes. I mean, I've been sent home several times because my clothes were not acceptable by my employer. And yesterday, while I was looking at the help staff that was coming in and out of the kitchen and the mainly the kitchen, they had like janitors and other sort of like support staff. Boy, they got a work polo, but that was about it. They looked awful, just absolutely awful. And it's a mirror. It goes to show what America looks like right now. They can't afford to take care of themselves. One of the main points yesterday of the Epic Economist videos, this is the first time in 50 years where pet ownership has gone down in America. Anything. People don't have the money to buy anything. They're getting rid of their cats. They're getting rid of their dogs. They're getting rid of their fish because people can't afford to feed themselves, let alone feed a betta fish or pay a vet bill. People are saying no. That means that more people are sitting home completely alone, nowhere to go, nothing to do except for work more. Another part-time job, another driving job on top of your regular job. Almost all the people in all of these TikTok videos that he's shown in the past few weeks have at least 2 or 3 jobs. There is at no point in their day in which they're not thinking about what they're going to do next about money. And that's a reality for many of us. It's all we think about. It's what we dream about. If you have time to dream, my dreams are just nightmares of the worst possible scenario. They told us work hard pays off, but no one mentioned how quickly life would cash that check. Rent, utilities, insurance, groceries, everything demands more, while our paychecks stay the same. We've learned to stretch $20 like it's taffy, to smile while choosing between medicine and dinner, to measure our worth in hours sold instead of dreams lived. The struggle isn't just economic, it's spiritual. Because when survival becomes your full-time job, you forget what living ever felt like. That's one of the things that I can keep telling you guys. A philosophy that I preach all day long. Never remember your past. And you don't have a future. So don't think about saving for a future that will never be here. Almost all of us will never own a home because we've been priced out. None of us are ever going to have a good job. None of us are ever going to enjoy any sort of leisure. Everything that rich people can touch there's been a force field of money created around it so that our grubby little hands can't touch anything good in this world. And the great thing about that is rich people don't care about money. They're so rich, they don't even think about what money is. Inflation doesn't hurt them. Nothing hurts them. They want a new car, they buy it cash. Or they get a really great interest rate, 3-4%. We people don't get that. Our interest rates on our cars are closer to 20%, if not 20 or higher. And they can sell you that predatory loan because they know you don't have a choice. You have to have a car. 30% interest on your credit cards, that's another punch, another kick in the balls. And the worst part is that they not only kick you in the balls all day long with these terrible, terrible ways of being able to get just the things that you need. Walking into the grocery store, another kick in the nads. Paycheck on Friday, boom, double kick in the nads. But get up Monday morning at 8 and not have the motivation to go to work? Guess what? It's 2 car batteries today instead of 1 to your nether regions to motivate you to increase your productivity. It never stops when you're poor. The punishment of waking up every morning as a poor person is forever. All right, closing monologue. So, yeah, maybe the economy's strong. Maybe record profits mean progress. But if strength looks like burnout, eviction notices, and a $7 coffee you can't taste because your stress ate your appetite, then congratulations, America. You're living proof that gaslighting people works. Because that's the trick, isn't it? To make you think survival is success, that suffering is normal, and that if you just hustle harder, maybe you'll get to struggle in a nicer apartment someday. But deep down, you already know the truth. No one makes it here anymore. We just learn to smile through the collapse and call it optimism. The other day, I was sitting with my coworker. I think it was Wednesday morning. I was miserable. And he just looked at me. It's like, when are you going to smile today? And I thought, oh my God, not this. To show up to work and smile because it's part of the uniform bit. I, I slowly, I cringed, right? My rear puckered up and I thought to myself, really? Do they really want us to smile while we listen to people on the news tell us how great everything is? Or Big Orange up there doing something ridiculous that embarrasses this country across the entire planet every single day? Like, this isn't normal, people. And I've been saying this for so long. They're trying to normalize poverty. They're trying to get you to be satisfied with your puny McDonald's sized paycheck. The paycheck isn't normal. Your suffering isn't normal. People losing their homes, people unable to find good jobs. I told you guys 1,000 times, there are no good jobs for people like us. Working at the car wash, working at McDonald's, working at Taco Bell, that's the job. The word good doesn't belong anywhere in the vocabulary of the proletariat. Just wake up every morning and suffer. Go to bed, suffer. You multiply that times a lifetime, and you spent your whole life as a slave that thought they were free.